Krishna. Hare Hare. Well, I had to take some extra rest. I just got up. Hare Krishna. And I've been faced with something for the last few days. In Krishna's arrangement, I love it when these kinds of things happen, to process what it is. Where is Krishna in all of this? The other day I was having some conversation with a devotee who is in a state of fear. They're very fearful. Fearful of death, fearful of everything, really, it seems. So to be around someone who's fearful all the time is, yeah. And they couldn't understand how I wasn't fearful too. I'm supposed to be afraid. I'm supposed to be afraid of death. If you're not afraid of death, how can you be Krishna conscious? You have to be afraid. And I'm like, Hey Krishna, what do I do with this? Because we pick up from those we have some association with, we pick up from them stuff. So I got this fear thing. You're supposed to be afraid! But I'm not. I'm not afraid of Krishna. I'm not, when I see Lord Nrsingadev, I'm not afraid of Lord Nrsingadev. I think he's beautiful. I'm not afraid. I don't have the same fear. We're motivated in different ways. Some people are attracted through lust. And that's all right, it gets purified. But it has to come to love. So this fear. So I'm having to deal with this because I see this person quite often. And we have some service together. And I got to come in contact with this fear package. And I'm like, so I'm not surprised. Last night there was a group session online, and what did they talk about? They talked about fear of death. And they were in agreement. You have to be afraid of death. So, I'm not sure where I fit in with all this fear stuff, because I'm not afraid. Yeah, I'm just stupid, or maybe I'm retarded or something, but I'm not afraid of death. I'm not afraid of death. Hare Krishna. So when I was talking with my friend, the one that's always having this fearful condition, and they're explaining it helps them remember Krishna to be afraid. So, okay, whatever helps you remember Krishna, fine. I have other things that help me remember Krishna. Beautiful things, wonderful things, ecstatic things. That helps me remember Krishna. The death program, we don't die. It's the body. So it's very much connected with identification with the material body. And I just feel like I'm being freed from that, at least somewhat. So in the conversation, we were driving, and they said, so why do you stop at a red light? Because you're afraid you'll get hit, right? By another car. And I'm like, no, I don't stop at a red light out of fear. I stop out of a red light out of knowledge that the red light is there to regulate the traffic flow, and we have somewhere to go. on our little journey here, and it's just, you understand how things work, and it's just common sense. It's not fear, it's common sense. That if this, then that. That's the way the material world works. If you do this, then that. And so if we try to go through the red light, then there will be a reaction. But it's not fear, it's just knowledge of how things work. It's not fear. It's common sense. So I'm having to sort things out in this relationship because we have some service to do, and they're always in this fearful state. Fearful of this, fearful of that, and conspiracies, and the government, and they're just like in a constant state of fear. And I'm not. So, but by coming in contact with that kind of vibration, it's like sex. Someone who's always thinking about sex, and they're obsessed with sex, and just everything like agitates them on the platform of sex feelings. Then if you're around someone like that, it's like, because these things, who you associate with, you absorb their stuff somewhat. So I'm having to process this fear. These are physiological things that happen because of fearfulness. There's the body responds. Just like with sex agitation, the body responds in the sex department. It becomes physiological. And also with fear, it becomes physiological. There's a chemical, adrenaline, and probably a bunch of other stuff that you get initiated into fight and flight. The body is just, again, understanding how things work. So if you're around someone who's very fearful, then your own adrenaline system can start to kick in, and then you've got to deal with the physiological response of fight and flight as the adrenaline is pumping through your body. And it's an emergency state, and you can't think of anything else. Just like with sex, once the sex impulses are initiated, then it's very hard to think of anything else, because the body is in an emergency state or a highly activated condition. That's the body, and you're in it. So it's understanding how things work. And I have some practice dealing with the sex thing. I have some practice with that. And so now I'm getting some practice with the adrenaline program. And to me, it's in the same category. And we find that a lot of times people, unfortunate people, who become totally controlled by these physiological impulses, however they're begun, commit crimes, and sex crimes and violence and fear. They kind of all mesh together. So it's all very much related. It's very much related. And it's the physiological condition. So of course we want to avoid association that's going to put us in those kinds of states. We want to avoid that. But I'm kind of appreciative of the opportunity to look at it head on, to deal with it head on, and my own experiences of having realization of what these things are and how they work in relationship to transcendence, Krishna. I think it's a valuable experience. They don't say it's easy, it's a bit harrowing. And of course, once the fight and flight thing kicks in, you just want to get away. Either that or kill him, So it's interesting. And I'll get another opportunity soon because we have some service to do together. And fear personified will be my partner in service soon. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama. It's interesting to see the part that fear plays. Spiritually, there's always fear because we're not impersonal. We always have emotions, and fear is always there. But the way fear is experienced on the transcendental platform is fear that something is happening to Krishna. Not to me, but to Krishna. Like when he was wrapped in the coils of the Kali's serpent. His intimate relations, his mother, his father, his friends, the girls in the village who loved him so much, they all became so fearful they became unconscious to see him wrapped in the coils of the Kali's serpent. It was like their own life was being taken. They actually became unconscious and paralyzed out of fear for Krishna. Not that something was happening to them directly, but that something was happening to Krishna. So fear is always there. But it's a little different on the spiritual plane. Okay, here we go. More lessons in transcendence. More lessons in self-control. Seeking the higher ground, the higher platform of realization of Krishna. Wow. The other thing is, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So, like with Bhima, Duryodhana, his envious cousin, was always trying to kill the Pandavas. It was the royal family, and the Pandavas were in line to take the throne and rule the world. And his cousins were very envious. So he was always trying to kill the Pandavas. And Bhima was one of the Pandava brothers who was known for extraordinary strength. He was very strong, powerful, Bhima. And so Duryodhana, his cousin, arranged, this was when they were young, they were just playing together. He arranged for Bhima to be thrown into the river where he knew there were, he had placed upraised spikes in the river, so when they threw Bhima in, he would be impaled on these spears and spikes. But as chance, Krishna, would have it, they threw him in the wrong place. But where they threw him, there was a pit of poisonous snakes. So take your pick, right? But what happened is, and the snakes bit him. They were poisonous, they were venomous, and they bit him. but they didn't kill him. And what happens is sometimes, like it was like a vaccination. he became even stronger. Because what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So he became even stronger from all the poison of the snakes, their envious poison. He actually became hundreds of times stronger than he was before. So what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. So we're going to deal with fear personified today, and over the next little while, in the form of a devotee that I have some service with, who is just totally in the fear vibration. Fear. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. I have a trick up my sleeve, so I think I can protect myself just a little bit with my trick. And bringing some recordings of Srila Prabhupada talking about fear as we do our service. We will be listening to Prabhupada talk about fear in relationship to Krishna consciousness. So, we'll see. If that bounces off and that isn't accepted, then I'm going to have to distance myself quite a bit from this. If this doesn't help, hearing Prabhupada talk about fear, then Krishna, someone else is going to have to venture in and change the channel. Hare Krishna, I'm certainly learning a lot. And I'm just going to depend on Krishna and the spirit of devotion to be able to sort this out. Krishna's making the arrangements. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So there you go. Lust in Krishna consciousness, fear in Krishna consciousness. What next? Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Do I dare ask what next?